Hello everyone, my name is Elite Trainer Kenway and I have a question. Do you like Pokemon Go? Do you have a collection of shiny, legendary, and mythical Pokemon that you're really proud of like Mew, Mewtwo, Rayquaza, and Celebi? Well, I'm here to tell you today that you may want to consider moving those Pokemon into home as soon as possible. Why, you may ask? Because I predict that Pokemon Go will be shutting down its service by the end of 2024. That's actually why I've gone ahead and transferred all of my entire Pokemon Go living decks into Pokemon Home. Speaking of the living decks, let's first look at Pokemon Home from a collector's perspective. Pokemon Go has seen its fair share of highs and lows, but it's safe to say that most people who are still playing Pokemon Go are doing so for either competitive or collection reasons. So how much longer can Niantic keep releasing new Pokemon for collectors to catch? Let's take a look. In Pokemon Go's first year, from June to December, they released 154 Pokemon. In 2017, Pokemon Go released 163 Pokemon. Part of that was to get back some of the player base that had dropped off after the initial surge ended in 2016. This is also, in my opinion, the reason they released Shiny Magikarp and Gyarados that same year. In 2018, Niantic released 124 Pokemon into Pokemon Go, including the mythicals Mew and Celebi, and the Pokemon Go exclusives Meltan and Melmetal. In 2019, we see Niantic starting to get a little more careful, releasing only 99 new Pokemon that entire year. In 2020, as the pandemic brought more players back into Pokemon Go, Niantic was able to release some Mega Evolutions along with 108 new Pokemon. But here's where it gets interesting. In 2021, Niantic started being really careful with the amount of Pokemon they released, releasing only 58 Pokemon in 2021. Last year, in 2022, only 79 new species of Pokemon were released. And this year has an even larger drop-off. If the current schedule remains the same, Pokemon Go will release only 45 new species of Pokemon this entire year. Now, the writing on the wall is pretty obvious. Pokemon Go has released 823 of the 1,010 Pokemon currently available before the Teal Mask drops. So if Pokemon Go wants to keep its players hooked, it needs to figure out a way to stretch the last 196 Pokemon over the next 2 or 3 years until Generation 10 comes out. There's also the question of whether or not the Pokemon Company will ever let Niantic have certain Pokemon. For example, if you want to add Arceus to your team legitimately, you're going to have to spend $60 on a copy of Legends Arceus. And if you want Eternatus, Kubfu, Urshifu, Glastrier, Spectrier, or Calyrex, well, you're going to have to buy Sword or Shield and the DLC. So there's a big incentive for the Pokemon Company to not let Niantic have certain Pokemon. And the same goes for Koraidon, Miraidon, Terapagos, and Ogerpon in the upcoming DLC. Chances are the Pokemon Company will never let Niantic have certain Pokemon because there's still money to be made from selling those games. Now, I mentioned that Niantic is releasing fewer and fewer Pokemon into the game each year. One of the ways they're supplementing this is Shiny and Mega Pokemon. However, Shiny Pokemon can only keep players entertained for so long, and Niantic is quickly running out of new Megas to exploit. Now, could Niantic eventually release Gigantamax Pokemon into Pokemon Go? Sure. Is it widely loved of a feature like Mega Evolutions are? Absolutely not. So in short, if Pokemon Go doesn't constantly churn out new Pokemon for us to catch, players are gonna stop spending money on raid passes and incubators. There's that word again, money. Now, I want to address the elephant in the room and talk about this idea people have that so long as Pokemon Go is currently making money, the Pokemon Company will continue to support it. I don't think that's true. While the Pokemon Company, like any other company out there, does want to make money, they're not going to do so at the cost of damaging their brand. With over $88 billion of revenue earned since 1996, Pokemon is the highest earning media franchise of all time, and they certainly didn't hit that spot by adopting a win-at-all-costs mentality. If Niantic is hurting the Pokemon Company's brand too much, they won't think twice before pulling the plug. So how is Niantic handling the Pokemon brand? To answer that question, let's first look at revenue numbers. According to Statista, Pokemon Go brought in $550 million in total revenue in 2016. Revenue dipped to just $444 million in 2017, which, to be honest, that's not really surprising. That's kind of to be expected of an app that blew up the way Pokemon Go did in 2016. Pokemon Go then went on to earn $607 million in 2018 and $653 million in 2019. Pokemon Go, of course, peaked during the pandemic, bringing in nearly $1 billion in total revenue in 2020. And as to be expected, Pokemon Go declined the following year, earning only $873 million in 2021 and $643 million in 2022. But this year, Pokemon Go has been hit the hardest. As of August 7th, Pokemon Go has only earned $343 million, putting it on track to be the worst performing year in Pokemon Go's history. If Pokemon Go continues to struggle to bring in consistent revenue and Niantic proves to be more trouble than it's worth, the Pokemon Company can absolutely afford to shut down Niantic and shut down Pokemon Go servers. Pokemon Go has brought in an estimated total revenue of $5.01 billion since 2016, which sounds like a lot, until you consider the fact that the Pokemon Company as a whole has brought in $11.6 billion in 2022 alone across all its revenue streams. So the question is, are Niantic and Pokemon Go actually more trouble than they're worth? Well, Niantic and Pokemon Go are clearly not popular amongst the fan base. Every couple of months it seems like there's a new controversy surrounding Niantic and Pokemon Go. In fact, I could take an entire hour-long video to just talking about Pokemon Go's controversies over the years. But instead, let's just talk about some of the worst ones. There is that time they locked Galarian Mr. Mime behind an $8 paywall. The time Niantic rolled back almost all of the exploration bonuses while the pandemic was still raging in 2021. Oh, and how about the time Niantic nerfed incense from 90 to 60 minutes, and then a couple of weeks later nerfed community days from 6 hours to 3 hours right in the middle of the Seasons of Alola event. And perhaps the biggest controversy to date, when Niantic nerfed remote raid passes this year, spawning the viral hashtag #HearUsNiantic. It's controversies like these that have taken Pokemon Go, an app that at its peak had 232 million users worldwide, down to just 79 million active monthly users. And that's nothing to say of the current controversy surrounding Zygarde cells and Pokemon Go routes. The amount of hatred that Pokemon Go players have for Niantic seem to rival that of Bethesda, Activision, and even EA. And that level of visceral hatred is something the Pokemon Company does not want associated with their brand. Now, I could sit here all day and give you the reasons why I think the Pokemon Company should cut ties with Niantic and Pokemon Go, but the real question is, are there actually any signs that the Pokemon Company is considering doing this? For starters, let's compare Meltan to Gimme Ghoul. In 2019, Game Freak trusted Niantic so much that they allowed Meltan and Melmetal to be released exclusively in Pokemon Go. Now take that in contrast with how they handled Gimme Ghoul last year in 2022. Last year, when it was time to release Gimme Ghoul into Pokemon Go, Game Freak made sure to program roaming form Gimme Ghoul with spawn locations just in case they ever needed to patch a catching mechanic for roaming form Gimme Ghoul in Scarlet and Violet. And I don't think it's a coincidence that all Vivillon patterns are also programmed into Scarlet and Violet, including the fancy pattern that's absent from Pokemon Go. Just like with Gimme Ghoul, a simple patch can make all the Vivillon patterns catchable in Scarlet and Violet without the need for Pokemon Go. Honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Furfrou, including all of its trims, were available when the Indigo disc drops later this year. But surely those are circumstantial coincidences, right? I wish we had something with a little bit more meat on it. Oh, I know. How about the project cancellations and mass layoffs over at Niantic? In June of 2022, Niantic laid off 90 employees, and again earlier this year, Niantic laid off 230 employees, including some who are working on Pokemon Go. This year, Niantic canceled 4 major projects, including NBA All-World, which had been active on the App Store for the past 4 months, and a major game they were developing for Marvel. You know, the multi-billion-dollar juggernaut franchise Marvel? That Marvel. Clearly, Niantic is in trouble, or at the very least has a serious problem with mismanagement within their ranks. So that's pretty much it for me today, you guys. I hope I've done enough in this video to convince you that if Niantic doesn't get their act together by the middle of next year, that the Pokemon Company may pull the rug out from them before the end of 2024. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think about the future of Niantic and Pokemon Go, and let me know if you're enjoying the Teal Mask, which released just a couple of days ago. Also, don't forget to join our brand new Discord server. Link is in the description below. And don't forget to check out the other stuff we put out this week. This week has been the busiest week in the history of this channel. We have put out 4 pieces of long-form content this week. If you guys want to see the entire National Deck series that I just got finished, put all into one video, that's on the channel. If you guys want to see a new theory video I put out about what parent is looking for in the Timeless Woods, if you haven't gotten that far in the Teal Mask yet, go check that out. That was posted on Wednesday. And subscribe to the channel and see what we're putting out next week. Hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.